Hi everyone, and welcome to my fall series. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you click that button. For this craft, you're going to need one of these little chicken wire frames, some decorative picks from the Dollar Tree, some rub-offs, and some craft sticks. So I start by cutting these Dollar Tree pumpkins in half, and then I decide to go ahead and use some Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree, which at first I was going to do burlap, but I thought the Spanish moss looked cuter. And I'm just gluing these little pumpkins down now on the Spanish moss. So you can see with the third pumpkin there, I had to cut it down really thin. I had to take more off because it just was too bulky at the top in order for everything to kind of look, I guess, balanced. And some pumpkins, pumpkins in a pumpkin patch are never all the same size. They're all different sizes. So that looked more realistic. And all you do is you just shave off a little bit more. It's super simple to do. And if you don't have the chicken wire, I've shown in previous videos how you can take those Dollar Tree waste baskets and go ahead and cut them and take a Dollar Tree frame and hot glue those around the back, paint them gray, and you have a perfect faux chicken wire. And now I'm just trimming the Spanish moss a little bit so it's not hanging over the edge. And then I do reinforce it with little dots of hot glue in the back. I try to make it not too noticeable, but you see it a little bit, but when I put it on the tier tray, you're not going to see it. So I decide to take those stems out and just make a cuter stem, I guess. I cut out some cinnamon sticks. I thought those would make the perfect little stems. I just cut them up and glue them on top of the pumpkin, and now I'm making a raffia bow, and I'm going to put one on each one of these cute little pumpkins. So now I'm using my craft sticks, and I'm just going to make a cute little farmhouse sign for the top of this sign. Now, even if you don't like farmhouse, if you're not into it, there is something about fall. We all have to admit it, because there's those pumpkin patches, and if we have kids, even if we don't have kids, we might go there and you see the tractor ride, you pick a pumpkin, you just do the whole little fall thing. So it kind of becomes farmhouse. Even before farmhouse was really on trend, it became farmhouse ish during fall. So I'm doing that for this theme here. Maybe I'll do some modern DIYs for the fall. I was thinking that might be a fun change. I'll put that in my little community section at some point and have you guys vote on that to see if you're interested in that. But what I did with the craft sticks on the edges, I cut them straight, and then I just took my clippers and kind of dug in the edge of them at a vertical manner, I guess, so to make little cuts and uneven edges to make it look a little bit more like a rustic farmhouse sign. Next, I'm going to give it a rough coat of some white paint so the edges are still showing. I give it a quick blow dry, and now we're going to do a transfer on there. And unfortunately, I did not let the paint dry quite enough, so you can see I lost some of my transfer, but no big deal. I just take my brown permanent little Sharpie marker here and touch it up. It's a little bolder than it would have been, but it still looks awesome. And that's it. I'm going to glue it on the top of the sign now. And I hope the camera does it justice, because this came up so cute. And the next step is to glue something on the back so it stands up straight. And I chose a tumbling block and one of those little wooden cubes you can get at the Dollar Tree. And that's it. I absolutely love the way this DIY came out. This is my inspiration piece, and again you're going to need some of the towering tumble game here, and you're going to start by gluing them together in a formation where you have 3 and then 3 and 2 sets of 6, just like that. And then when you have those 2 sets glued together, you're going to go ahead and glue them on top of each other like you see me doing here. And I also did 2, you can see it up in the upper right or upper left hand corner there. Those are already done. We're going to be making a total of 3 little books, and this isn't a new DIY by any stretch of the imagination. It's been around I think for 4 or 5 years, but believe it or not, I don't have one. And I want one. They're so cute. I mean, I made a little super tiny one for a tiered tray decor just all year round for Farmhouse, but I really wanted one for this season. I think they're super cute, and particularly for fall. At least the designs I've seen are super appealing. So that's what we're doing today. So now we're taking some of this aged paper I got on Amazon. Again, the link is down below in my description box if you're interested in getting the one that I'm using. And we're tracing just the edge here. I'm choosing the part of the paper that has like an orangey tint to it because it's autumn and I just want a little bit more of those kind of colors, I guess. This is supposed to be like the binding of the book, the edge, and it's supposed to look old, so I thought it would go really good. And we're just going to trace 3 of those out. And once you have those 3 cut out, of course you're going to take and bend them around the edges of these little cute little rectangle shapes you made to get the marks and seams so that when you go to write your words, you'll know where to write them. And of course, I'm freehanding this, so if you choose to do it that way too, I recommend that you do it in soft pencil first. I'm not confident with my writing, even when I start with the letter at the end and then the letter at the beginning and try to move my way to the center. I'm still, I just struggle with this. This isn't my strength. So if you have a stamp, or if you want to put this through your printer and print up the words, you can do that too. Either way, but if you do it freehand like me, make sure you use a pencil first. I'm going to use this painter's pen here. You could get them at Walmart, and I'm going to go ahead and trace out my words. I did end up having to go over these about 3 times because when the paint dried, you could still see the pencil even though I had written it really lightly. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up on that. And now I'm just going to glue them down using some hot glue. You can use wet glue if you want to. I just appreciated the instant stick, and what I did is I moved really quick to press them down while the glue was still liquid. And then I decided that I wanted my cute little books to be orange so that they kind of really popped the whole vibe of fall and autumn. And so I'm doing this now, and it looks fine because once you distress and you add the little lines everywhere, you're not going to see, just keep your hands steady. But if you want, or that you want yours to be a color, go ahead and paint it ahead of time. And then I thought, no, Holly, don't take a shortcut here. I want my sides to look like book pages, so I'm just taking the color Antique Parchment by Apple Barrel Paint. I'm taking off some hot glue here. And I'm going to paint the sides to try and make them look like book pages. And the color for the orange that I used is the Dollar Tree orange. I've spoke about this in a previous video. I think their paints are pretty decent. I pick them up when I can. I just don't like the way they come in the squirt bottle because if I squirt too much out, I will waste a lot of paint because I can't get it back in. So this way I just put it, you can see the little orange bottle there. That's an old paint bottle that had orange paint in it, and I rinsed it out a little bit, but it was pretty much the identical color. So I just squirted the Dollar Tree paint in there, and that's the color I'm using. Next, I just took my gray Sharpie pen and started drawing some lines. These don't have to be perfect. In fact, the more imperfect they are, the more realistic they look. You don't want like even symmetry because pages don't look like that. You just kind of want the illusion that there's book pages there. And then I take my brown little Sharpie there to the right, and I'm going to go ahead and accentuate where the books separate, where there's supposed to be 3 books. to try and kind of tone down where the two layers join, because you don't want that to stick out. You want them to look like they're thicker books. So that's what I do next. I also go around with this little brown Sharpie here and I outline all of the books. So along the seam where it's supposed to be the binder, in between, I just kind of use this to distress it a little bit and just accentuate the detail that I want to stand out more. Next, I'm going to use this little checkered buffalo ribbon here and tie it around the side end of the book, and then just put some fall garnish on top with some bows and a little pumpkin and a leaf, and just do some fall. That was a little bit different than the books I showed you, I guess, but I just think that looks really, really cute. So that's what I end up doing. For this DIY, you'll need a window box. I got mine from the Dollar Tree, and this printable I designed that is available down below in my description box. Just click on the link and it will take you to it. And the first thing I do is cut off the top sign there. I'm going to save that for another DIY, and I give it a thick coat of white paint. Now the camera turned off again, and I guess there's a program I can download from the actual manufacturer website and run it through my camera so it stops doing that. So hopefully I will figure that one out. But it's super easy. I just took a glue stick and I spread it on the back of the printable. Glue stick worked just fine. I just covered it really, really thick, and then I pressed it down inside the frame, and now I'm just adding a little Spanish moss. And because it is a window box, I'm just trimming it up a little bit to look nice and neat. But what would a tiered tray be without a window box? You always have to have one or two of those. It always looks so, so cute during the holidays. And now I'm using one of my favorite methods for a really soft, kind of blurry distressing is a blush brush with some antique wax. And I'm just going to kind of lightly, very lightly distress this just so it doesn't look so, so clean. I want it to look a little bit rustic. And that's it, but it came up so cute for a tiered tray. For this craft, you're going to need the tumbling tower blocks and some of the wooden pieces from the Dollar Tree. And if you don't have those, you can always use a wine cork. I'm showing you here. It's very, very similar, and they all come in different shapes and sizes. And then we're going to be taking those towering blocks and gluing them together. The first set you're going to do is a set of 6. I did it right at the top there. You can see above my hands. And then the second sets are going to be little sets of 2. After you have those 2 glued together, you're going to be gluing one of those 2 sets on either side of that center formation with 6. So you'll kind of have like a cross shape like that right there. You're going to be doing that, and we're going to be doing it 3 times, and then a set of 3 and then a set of 2. Next, you're going to make sure that they all line up. Unfortunately, the tumbling blocks, and probably the Jenga blocks too, I'm guessing. I've actually never had Jenga blocks, the real brand name ones, before, but I'm guessing they're not perfectly even in sized too. So you definitely, when you put your little formations together, see how some are shorter and some are longer. The most important part is that your base is even so that it's not crooked and rocking and rolling there. and that your little pieces on the top fit together perfectly. So you can see that one side is shorter, and what I'm doing is just putting a bigger blob of hot glue to lift it up so that the pumpkin's nice and even on the top, and then I'm sneaking my glue gun in there to glue the rest of it down. So I have extra hot glue on that little side where they were shorter, and that will even everything out. And don't worry about it, because we're going to be fixing that and you won't see that when these are all done anyway. You can see I'm putting a little bit more glue in there too. I'm just making sure that it dries nice and even and straight. Make sure you hold it too while it dries, just like I am, so that it doesn't suddenly sink, because you know the hot glue is liquid until it solidifies. So you want to hold that nice and still until it's dry. So this time we're just making another formation here, but this time there's only going to be 2 on top of each other, and we're making little rustic primitive type pumpkins here, in case you haven't guessed. I think the towering blocks are so much fun, especially for tiered tray decor. And if you're really careful with how you craft with them and how you paint them, you can make some really high-end looking stuff. And the emphasis is, of course, you have to be careful on how you craft and how you put them together. But I've seen some amazing videos over the summer, and I was like, oh my gosh, you made that with towering blocks. I mean, they really are impressive when you do it correct. So we're making some little cute primitive pumpkins today. So now we have 2 little pumpkins there with a stack of 3 and a stack of 2, and here comes the spackling. For this part, I'm only looking to fill in the little gaps where I joined the little crisscross formations together, because those are bigger. I'm not worried about all the other little lines. With towering blocks, or is it towering blocks? I don't, anyway. It's impossible to get all the little seams, but for the look I'm going for these pumpkins, that's going to be perfect. So for this first round here, I thought I wanted these guys to be an orange and like a soft green. And when I was done, I thought, no, that after I painted it, I just thought that definitely didn't pick the energy up that I was envisioning in my mind when I thought primitive. Because primitive, if you look that up on Pinterest or online, has a definite energy to it and a vibe. So that, even if I dry brush white over this, which I did end up doing, I ended up painting them orange and green, and it was still way too bright for the look I was going for. So that's the nice thing about paint, is that you can repaint. So I take the color Antique Parchment in Apple Barrel paint, and I go ahead and paint both of those in that color instead. And after all that, I'm just doing some dry brushing here with the antique wax. This is down below in my description box. You can click the link, it will take you right to it if you're interested in the one that I use. And I'm just making it look a little distressed here, a little bit more like a primitive pumpkin. And now I'm just taking those little Dollar Tree stems, and I'm gluing them on the top to make a cute pumpkin stem. And I tried to choose the thinnest ones in the bag. There's some chunky ones and there's some thin ones, and that's the best you can do. And like I said, you can use a wine cork. You can even use a cinnamon stick if you don't have anything else. I'm going to top each one with a raffia bow with Dollar Tree raffia, and then I'm going to add a cute little flower just for a pop of color, and that's it. I think these came up so cute, and they're such a simple DIY to do, and they add a lot of height and dimension to your tiered tray. So this is my inspiration piece. This is real, but I just love the vibe and the feeling that it gives me. So I want to try and recreate this for my tiered tray. This is a Dollar Tree glass, some pom-poms, and some cinnamon sticks. And I'm just taking the Dollar Tree orange paint now and doing a coat on this glass. Now, there's a story with the pom-poms, and you'll see as the video moves on here, but we're going to just go with it for now. And I do the second coat of orange paint with a sponge because I just found that kind of gave it a little bit more texture and just a nicer look, I think. And I took some black paint and just edged the top just like the original photo was. I loved that look. I thought it was really, really cute. And I took a paintbrush, dipped it in some paint. Now I know you can use a toothbrush, but this is what I had right near me and I didn't want to go get a toothbrush, so this is what we're using. Kind of messy. I went and washed my hands, but it worked brilliantly, as you'll see in a minute. I get those speckles I'm after, and we get that cool enamel look, which I was after, only fall style here with orange. It comes up beautiful. Look at that. Perfect. So I used tissue paper and ran this through my printer. This is a free printable. It will be down below my description box. I created it and you can go ahead and print it up. And I tried to get it to match as close as I could with the vibe of the one I saw. So I show you how I went about taping the tissue paper on the back of paper. I just use paper, but actually I probably am going to get some cardstock because that would work a lot better. And I did leave the tissue paper in 2 layers just because I was afraid it was going to tear. It is Hallmark tissue paper. It should be really strong, but I just didn't want my computer, my printer getting jammed up. So there's that. And I tried to cut it out to look like a little pumpkin a little bit. Now, it was a perfect match when it was dry and when it got wet, and the double layer of the orange under the cup and the tissue paper made it go a little darker, but no worries, we make it all blend in and it looks beautiful at the end. So first item on the list here is to weight down that cup so it stops slipping up. I use a paint bottle to do that, and go over the letters with white paint because the background was orange and the tissue paper was so thin and see-through. The letters really kind of just faded out. So you might want to leave that little part where you think the letters are going to go white, or maybe even cut out the pumpkin shape or whatever shape you want. Trace it onto your glass when the paint is all white, and then go about painting it orange so you can deliberately avoid that area. There's different ways to do it, but I just wanted to warn you, if you do decide to paint it orange, you're going to need to brighten up those letters a little bit. And then I decide to use a heart template and add a heart to the left of the writing. And then I just stick some paper towels in there and lay this cardboard on top that I traced and cut. And it's kind of a little bit bigger so that there was counter pressure so it stays nice and even. And I'm just gluing my cinnamon sticks down and the pom-poms down now to try and recreate the look that, is my inspiration piece. I glue all the pom-poms on and I'm thinking this looks okay, kind of looks like marshmallows, it looks cute. But then I go and I sprinkle cinnamon on it. And as soon as I do that, for whatever reason, I looked at it and I thought, oh my gosh, it looks like I used cotton. And suddenly that whole expensive kind of cute higher end look disappeared. I didn't like it and I kind of just thought, no, it's fine. And the next day my husband goes, oh, that is such a good DIY. That's so cute, but except for the cotton part. So I went, that's it. So this is what we do next. We tear it off, but actually I didn't have my camera rolling. It was on there very, very good. So you can see how I actually tore the cardboard a little bit underneath because I had to put the tweezers underneath there to tear it up. It was stuck so hard. And I cut all the cotton off. I ripped the cinnamon sticks off. And you can go cut a new piece of cardboard if you wanted, or I could have done that, but it was such a perfect fit that I didn't want to. So I just go about repairing this basically, and I take a little bit of tape and I just tape that up and turn it upside down, and we start again with another idea. So I grab my joint compound. Now you can use spackling for this, it's just mine's getting a little drier than I'm comfortable with, and it tends to dry with too many cracks. And I remember when I was reading about joint compound versus spackling that the joint compound has oil in it and it takes longer to dry, but it's a little more flexible. So I thought just intuitively that would be a better choice. Real whipped cream has fat in it too, and oils Often they'll add oils in it. And so I don't know why, I just felt like that might add some more realism, because if you actually compare spackling with joint compound side by side, the joint compound does look more like whipped cream. It's a very silky, soft texture. It even dries kind of rubbery. So, you know, you can do either or, but it's, and they'll look good. But I tend to pay attention to detail. I don't know if I have OCD or what, but I don't even know if that's the term for it. But I do pay attention to detail, and for me, just that extra realism was exciting. And then I just treat this like I do with my banana cream pie that I make for real at home. I take the knife when I put the whipped cream on top and just kind of tap it to create these little peaks and points, and I think it looks so pretty that way. And of course, we can't forget the cinnamon, so I sprinkle a little cinnamon on top, and this also makes a great air freshener, you guys. This is the next morning when it's dry, and unfortunately it's unavoidable to kind of mess up your little black rim. As you can see, I do have to go back over it with a paint pen, and I just kind of add in all those little details. Just taking a Dollar Tree permanent marker to touch up where it's white on the cup, and that's it. I love this DIY. This is part 1 of a 3-part series. I'm going to be uploading more videos this week and on my regular Sunday. And I love you guys so much. I can't wait to share with you. So until the next video, breathe deep, fret not, and do things that make you happy.